believe in yourself, set goals, and destroy
Really
them.
excited to bring this story of Chris Kerber today.
I went to get out of the van and I couldn't move. I woke up and I just saw bright lights. I could see the pool of blood just getting bigger and bigger. And I kept saying to myself, there's no way that I'm going to survive this. Hours and hours went by. We're going to have to get the jaws of life to come cut open the van because there was no way to get in the van to get my leg out of the engine. There's no way I'm going to live. The van is wrapped in electrical wires. We have to get the power company out here to shut off the electricity. As a lot of time went by and I just saw the blood. I mean, the blood was just, it was insane. It looked like a pool. Get bigger and bigger. I was like, you know, there's no way that I'm going to survive this. My mom and my aunt, their faces just rise above me. Like I was in the clouds or something. It was insane. All I see is a bright light. Immediately I had thought I had died. I looked down and they took the blanket off my leg and it was just the most horrifying thing that I've ever seen. Where's my life going to go from here? Being an athlete and running around and, you know, whatever, to I have one leg now. You should have died. You lost about 60% of your blood. We're probably going to have to amputate your leg from the knee down. Surprisingly, I was totally fine with that because I was so grateful to still have a heartbeat at this point. You know, if I could leave here breathing and still live to tell about this, then I'll do it with one leg. That's fine. Many surgeries, and they had to give me many bags of blood to compensate what I had lost.
By the grace of God, have managed to keep your leg.
We want you to try and stand up, but we're pretty sure you're going to have to remain in a wheelchair. I tried standing up.
You just had this massive life change.
I'm going to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair.
What's going through your head? And talk to me about some of the things that you're thinking. Because at this point, so many people would just fold and say, you know what, I'm going to succumb to this. I had a tragedy happen to me. And, you know, not make that pivot to really push forward. Take us through that a little bit.
I was still so grateful to be alive that it just didn't even matter. You know, what am I going to do now? I will overcome it and I will do something great. I felt like I'd be that one person to prove them wrong.
Why?
And
tell me why. I mean, what?
I guess just because of what I had already been through. I guess the mentality that I had, I always felt like I should have died when I was 2 years old and I was going through, you know, getting burned in a closet and, you know, getting abused and, you know, stuff like that went through my mind. And I thought, I mean, if I can make it over that and I'm still here after this car accident, I mean, and I'm still breathing. Obviously, I have a purpose. There's a reason I'm here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be. You got to believe. Spread that to other people and show them that nothing is impossible.
But I have to imagine they're scratching their head going, how on earth does somebody go from being in a horrific accident, losing 60% of their blood, in a wheelchair, barely keeping their leg, and ending up where you are as a fitness trainer?
Being in a wheelchair for so long, I had kind of accepted it. And then it got to a point where I was in it for 6 months and I said to myself, you know what? I don't care what the doctors said. I don't care about anything. I'm going to walk. Got out of my wheelchair one day and tried to walk. And it was the most painful thing ever. I couldn't put any pressure on my left leg. A couple more months, I was able to walk with a limp, but I was able to walk. And at that point, I was still amazed that I was even doing progressively walked normal again. Progressively started to try and hop on that leg, and it worked. Progressively tried to jog and run, and then it got to a point where about a year and a half after the accident, I was running, jumping, and doing everything just the way I was before.
You stood up out of the wheelchair. That was a win.
Yeah.
You took a step. That was a win. You took 3 steps. That was a win. That achievement from going from into that wheelchair to being able to run is really the accumulation of thousands of little small goals. Is that fair?
Yes, and that's exactly why I push myself to the limits I do now, is because of how far of a gap a wheelchair to running is when you have hundreds of people doubting that.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. That first time you went from walking to legitimate running, talk to me about that feeling.
I felt euphoric. Felt like a dream. It kind of felt like the whole world was blanked out and I was just running in the clouds. If you could just imagine like a regular person that's just completely healthy, if they were to just jump off of a building and be able to fly, I would stop and look down at the scar, and then I would go back up and keep running.
So, all right, here you are. You've, again, overcome just absurd obstacles. Doctors told you would walk, all of that sort of stuff. Now, you got to figure out what you're going to do for a living. Again, you were a young kid when this happened. You were only 17 years old. You were in a wheelchair, and that throws a complete monkey wrench into, college, anything, even just a regular job. So talk to me about what you decided to do with yourself.
When I got into the accident, there was absolutely nothing left. I was 120 pounds, 6 foot. I want to get healthy, and I want to change my life, and I want to see if I could push my body even further than I already have. Started to see that I was capable of much more than just running and walking. The best way that I could possibly motivate people would be through fitness, because it has to do with the body and pushing it and changing it. And it just went so well with what I already was passionate about. I had to become a trainer. I felt like if I could just push people as hard as I pushed myself, it would turn out great.
The story at this, sorry to interrupt you, I got to do it, because the story at this point, Chris, could almost be a story on 2020 if you stopped right now. Yeah, that's a pretty amazing story. And the thing that I really like about what you've done is many people, Chris, would have stopped at so many points along your journey. You really took that next step, and not only did you heal yourself, make yourself better, stronger, faster, you then dedicated your life to doing the same for others. And that's such a selfless act.
I felt obligated to do what I'm doing now.
I can't even imagine what it's like for you. After going through the experience that you did, you're now dedicating your time to helping and improving the life of others. And it's just again, amazing, selfless act that you're partaking in. So,
the reward that I get when I see the results that my clients get is it just brings me back to where we just were, with where I was. And I know the feeling that they get, and there's just nothing more rewarding.
It's truly an incredible story that Chris had to tell. There was many points there along the way where I think many people would probably not be able to continue on as he did, but it just shows that it's there, and it's there within all of us. And if you set the right goals and you have the right mindset, we're truly able to accomplish just amazing things. And I think Chris is testament to that fact. So, and I want to thank you very much for coming on here and truly telling an incredible story to the BFit Nation.